Okay, this is a video for my Year 11 Built Environment class who are doing the Heritage Carpentry project. We've got to make the coast path gate. We're only making part of the coast path gate, but we've got to do something called quantities and costings. And quantities and costings is working out how big the things have got to be that we've got to make the gate from and how much they're going to cost. So sounds straightforward, but there's a bit of maths behind it. So I want to go over that in a nice little video. I'll go fairly slowly, right? But you might want to rewind and watch the video over and over. So I've drawn myself a drawing of the gate. That is in your folder. You've got a digital copy of that drawing. And I'm going to use that to create my cutting list. So just to base my cutting list off, right? So I'll start off with a one of the parts of the gate, right? I'll put a number 1 in that bit there. And we'll look at this upright bit here. So that part is actually called the hanging post. That's called a hanging post because the hinges are going to be fixed to it, right? This is a piece of 100 by 75, 4 by 3, that vertical, okay? This one is called the banging post. This one's 75 by 75, okay? So they're different, right? The upright's different. So let's have a look at our hanging post, for example, right? So this is called a hanging post. I'm going to write the name hanging post in there. And the reference for it is part 1. I've just labeled it part 1 in there, okay? Right, next thing I need to know is the length of it. So what you can do, you can get a tape measure out. You can measure the actual gate that's in the room, or you can do it off the drawings, or you can go onto the SketchUp drawing if you want to. It doesn't matter, but you've got to work out what the length of it is. Now, I'm just going to guess a length, okay? I'm going to say it's 1.2 meters. So we're going to leave that as 120. Oh, sorry, 1.2. I'm going to leave it in meters, right? I know often we work in millimeters in built, but we're going to leave it in meters this time around. So my length is 1.2. My width of the timber. So look, I'm looking at a piece of timber which is rectangular cuboid like that, right? It's going to be 120 centimeters long, or 1.2 meters long. The width of it, right, is 100 millimeters. So 100 mm, right, is, you take a decimal point and you push it back 3 places, 1, 2, 3, is 0.1 meters. So it's going to be 0.1 meters, and it's going to be 75 millimeters. So 75 millimeters, take a decimal point, 1, 2, 3, so that creates an extra 0, and you're looking at 0.075 meters. So it's by 0.075. So these are the numbers that go in my cutting list, right? So I've got my 0.1 and my 0.075. How many hanging posts do I need? Well, I need 1. And what material are they made from? Well, these are made from larch, okay? Right, so that's my first piece. Happy? Right, let's have a look at one of the other pieces then, right? So my other piece I'm going to do is one of the slats, and I'll show you why I'm doing that, the slat now, right? So the slat is made out of a piece which is narrower, okay? It's made out of a piece of 4 by 1 inch timber, okay? So here's my 4 by 1 inch timber, more like that. I'm going to keep the length at 1.2. I think it might be. When you measure the widths of these, be careful because you've got to include the tenons that go right through. So when you're measuring the entire width. You're not measuring the inside size, shoulder to shoulder, the full width of the gate. So 1.2, this one's 100, so that's 0.1. But the width of this one here is 20 millimeters, so it's 0.02. Okay, so that's one of my slats. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those, right? So slats, what are we going to call them? Should we call them part 2 there, right? So if they're part 2, again, they're 1.2 by 0.1 by 0.02 meters, and I need 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including the diagonal and the vertical braces, right? And they're also made of larch. So you have to first of all create your cutting list. Once your cutting list is done, you're ready to start thinking about how much this is going to cost. So how much is it going to cost? Well, let's have a look. Sorry, my computer has just turned itself off. Right, so how much is it going to cost? Well, it's going to cost a price based on the volume of the amount of wood we're going to use. So in your classroom assignment, what you'll discover is that I've created for you a set of links, right? Links that you've got. One company that's on one of the links is called Realwood Studios, and Realwood Studios are kind enough to give you a price list, right? So if you look down here on the page and you keep going down, you will find a series of prices with different kinds of timber there. So these timbers now range in price quite a lot. So you've got oak there, which is probably one of our more expensive timbers that we can use. For the gate is £50 to £65 per cubic foot. All right, and that price there is for air dried oak. That's been left out in a breezy space with blocks underneath it so the air can get around it, and the moisture has naturally left the material. Kiln dried, because they have to put energy in to dry that, as the price is up to £60 to £75 per cubic foot. Okay, and I keep emphasizing the foot part, right? So let's have a look down the other list of things that we've got, and down the bottom we've got larch. Okay, so air dried larch, the cheapest price we can get here, £25 per cubic foot. Right, so we're using feet there. Like, and feet is an old imperial unit of measure. It's 30 centimeters. So a cubic foot would be 30 by 30 by 30 deep. So imagine a dice, 30 by 30 by 30 centimeters. That volume of timber would cost you £25 in larch. Right, more useful for us will be knowing what that price is per cubic meter. So luckily, like this Realwood Studios give you the multiplier. 35.3 is the multiplier to find out the price per cubic meter. So I'm going to jump back into my whiteboard and I'm going to find out some prices. So I'm going to just push my page across here now because we're looking at prices now, right? So for prices, air dried larch is £25 per cubic foot. We could do cubed, I guess. That's a strange one to write, isn't it? Probably wouldn't do that, actually. It looks a bit confusing. So £25 per cubic foot, right? Now, what we want to do is work out how much it is per cubic meter. So what was my multiplier again? Sorry, my memory's a bit shocking. 35.3. So go in here and put it back on the board. 35.3. So I've got to multiply 25 by 35.3. So I pick up my pen, 35.3 times 25, and just do a bit of long multiplication. So 3 5s are 15, 5 5s are 25, plus the 1 is 26. 3 5s are 15, 16, 17. Put the naught down. 2 3s are 6, 2 5s are 10, and 2 3s are 6, and the 1 is 7. So here is my price per meter cubed. I could just add those that are going across, right to left. 5, 6 and 6 is 12, put the 1 down. 8, and I've got 8 there. So the price, so I've got one decimal point to put back in, so I pop that back in like that. And my price per cubic meter for larch, for air dried larch, is going to be £882 per per cubic meter, right? So larch, sorry, I keep jumping out of my pen. Larch is pounds 882.5 per meter cubed. Right, so lock that price in now because that is going to be our multiplier once we've worked out the volumes of all the separate pieces, right? So here we go, right? We're going to have a look at one of the pieces that we've got in our cutting list. Let's have a look at the slats, all right? So 1.2 by 0.1 by 0.02. So I need to work out the volume now, right, of my slats. So my slats, this one here, look, is, I draw a picture of it out, like that. My slat measures 1.2 meters by 0.1 meters by 0.02 meters, right? Okay, so I've got 5 of them. Which stage you want to do your multiplication of the 5? I'll probably work out the volume first. So volume is length times width times thickness. So we're looking at 0.02 times 0.1 times 1.2. Right, so how should we work that out? Well, I'm not going to do that in my head, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my calculator online, right? So bring that up here, back into there, bump. So what have I got? I've got 1.2 is the star, 0.1 with the star, 0.02. Is that correct? Yes. Right, so hit enter and we're looking at 0.0024. 0.0024. Okay, just remember that. 0.0024. 0.0024 meters cubed. That's the volume of that piece of timber. So to work out the price of that piece of timber, I take my price per meter cubed and I multiply it by this one. So shall we do that back on the calculator? 882.5. So go back in there. 882.5. So that times, get my mouse working again, times 882.5 equals. So that piece of wood is going to cost me £2.11.8. So let's push it up to £2.12. So the price for that is £2.12. Price for that, £2.12. Right, doesn't sound like a lot, but you've got 5 of those altogether. Then you've got your upright posts to work out, and that is going to work out a price for us for the gate in total. It's basically repeating the same calculation over and over, but with different values. So it shouldn't be too complicated, right? You need to know your price per meter cubed first, right? Not cubic foot. So that site's useful. What's the other site I gave you on the assignment? The other site I gave you on the assignment was the free timber cost calculator. That does your maths for you. It's best if you can show calculations on your page and get a better mark, right? But if you want to have a go at this one, it'll estimate your prices. It'll round them quite significantly, right? So have a look, but it's got some interesting stuff here. It'll tell you weight per meters cubed. It'll tell it's a calculator built in there, look, and some useful stuff. If you've got any questions, ask me in class, obviously, but have a go before you get stuck or before you come to me, right? And trying to work it out. Like I say, if you need the dimensions of the gate, you can come in class, you can use a tape measure, you can measure the actual gate, or you can do it off the drawings. All right.